We got some big trade updates as David Savard speaks out about Kent Hughes and the conversations they've had surrounding a trade and his status with the Montreal Canadiens going forward. We're going to break down his comments. Plus, with Jaden Struebel's injury potentially being long-term and the rumors going up and up and up about Lane Hutson potentially joining the Habs at the end of the season, Jordan Harris's future is in jeopardy more than ever. That plus a crazy Matheson stat on this episode of Habs Digest. So stick around, and if you want to stick around, you might as well hit subscribe, because this is your home for all the latest Habs news, rumors, reports daily. And if you're part of the 53% that are not subscribed to the channel, please hit the button now. We'd really appreciate it. Jesse, let's jump into Mike Matheson. And this is something that we kind of maybe thought would come at some point in the season, but it's the fact that Matheson has now jumped in to the top 10 for defenseman scoring, now having 42 points in 57 games played. He's up there with the likes of Riley, Dahlin, Fox, Yossi, Bouchard, Hedman, Dobson, Makar, and Hughes. For as much as we make fun of Mike Matheson, of course, never passing to Juraj Slafkovsky on the power play, as much as we make fun of him for his defensive blunders, this guy is putting up some scoring totals that I feel like we haven't seen from a Habs defenseman in a long time. Since what? Since like maybe PK Subban?
No, it's absolutely wild to see. Like, he's right up there with the who's who of the NHL. We know for any team that wants to really compete for that Stanley Cup, you need that star defenseman. So it'll be interesting to see how Matheson sort of tracks on this list. Could he possibly even climb that up? Is our star defenseman that we need in the future, is it him, or is it somebody else? Is it a Hudson? Is it a Mailloux? Anyway, you need that type of guy. So this is amazing to see. And the fact right now that Mike Matheson, in the top 10 for points in the NHL, he's got more points right now with 42 than Erik Karlsson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's only by 1 point more, but still it matters when you're outscoring the guy who, is playing for your former team that won the Norris last year. I mean, this is huge to see, so amazing just, to see his game just kind of starting to pick up more so and more so. And he is even starting to pass the Slav slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely is right. Yeah, like Mike Matheson, for as much of the negative things he does, he's still the top defenseman on this team. And if you look at that list of players again, I'll pop it back up. I might as well. And look, he's not that far behind. A 2-point game, and he's jumping up to 8th. 25 minutes, 23 seconds on the ice. The only two players on this list that play more than him are Noah Dobson and Rasmus Dahlin. And they are both significantly younger than Mike Matheson. And they're also both only playing within 10 seconds more than him. So for all the negativity around Matheson, and there's some that's deserved, I'm sure. I feel like maybe we're starting to underrate him a bit, but we got to give him props where it's due. And he is putting up one of the top scoring seasons by defensemen this season. But Jesse, we're going to transition. We got a lot of defensemen talk in this video, and I wanted to start talking about Jordan Harris. And we heard a couple of games ago, Jordan Harris was on the block. He's being shopped by Kent Hughes. There's a lot of outlets talking about it for sure. But now, the real reason for this is the fact that the Habs need to make room. However, there's an extra level to it now with Jaden Struebel. Again, I haven't seen an update for his injury as of the posting of this video. But Jesse, he could be out for a while, and there's a lot of talk about Lane Hutson, of course, potentially burning that year of his ELC with the Habs at the end of the season. I feel like the pressure is on to move Jordan Harris. And I feel like, as much as we want to say, like, he's great for the team, he's an awesome guy. He's an amazing teammate, guy to have on the team. As we saw in the Sportsnet article recently of top 30 trade candidates, he has the skills, the advanced stats, the puck moving, the compete and the consistency, the hockey IQ. And now they mentioned a few weeks ago that we should watch out for the Calgary Flames. That's something that we have been hammering home as well. But his cap hit as well, Jesse, he's very accessible. I feel like teams would pay a premium for him. And at this point now, if you want to make room for Hutson, I feel like the time is now to move Jordan Harris.
Absolutely. The words, shopping and Jordan Harris now have been starting to go together quite a bit, and you can kind of see why. Like, his position on this team was tenuous even before Jaden Struebel started playing better. Mm-hmm. But now is him kind of jumping up in the depth chart. We see kind of a resurgence of Xhekaj, again, all on the left-hand side. So I feel like if the, Montreal Canadiens are going to make a move, probably looking at that left-hand side there, but you have to feel like Harris, super cool guy. You have to feel like he's going to go on to have a great NHL career. You could just see him just thriving in another market for sure. Just a young guy, just needs a little bit more time to figure out his game. Not so much a thing of him being a bad player, but just us have so many good players right now. So I think as long as it's probably a little bit outside of our vicinity, I don't want to see him with the Sens. I don't want to see him obviously with the Leafs, but you wish the best for him as well, right? he does have a lot of those skills, just for whatever reason, a little bit of injuries here and there, just not being able to bring it kind of all together. But for me, I could very much see a world where if he's not gone by this trade deadline, then it's going to be on this draft guy, and maybe as part, of a multi-package type of deal to maybe get a little bit more back, to maybe get away from more of the prospects acquisitions.
Yeah, and the thing with him too is responsibility level has gone down a lot this year. Now I'm sure a lot of that's in part to the fact that Guhle has been playing a good bit, right? But like the left side is now crowded. Xhekaj has taken, since he's come back from Laval, he's taken a step up. So right now, I know Guhle's been playing a lot of right D recently alongside Mike Matheson. If you look at, like, the Habs still have some right D in their system. They have David Reinbacher, they have Logan Mailloux, and don't forget, we still have Justin Barron, who can still come up and play it, and Guhle can play on the right side, and Kovacevic is still on the team, and Savard is still on the team. So I think in an ideal world, you move Guhle back to the left, maybe behind Matheson, and then you still have Xhekaj there. Even though Struble is out now, I still think that in an ideal world, the left side needs to be adjusted. I think it's still too crowded, and you're very right. I think I really like Harris. I think he's going to thrive in another environment where he's not getting blocked by guys like Struble, Xhekaj, Guhle, Matheson, this kind of stuff. Hope he nets a good return because, as you know, as a lot of fans, we love Jordan Harris. Awesome guy, but hey, if the return is there, you might as well take it. But on that note, we got to talk about David Savard, and well, he's been one of the names that's really been hovering around the trade block for a long time alongside Jake Allen. But he spoke out in an article by Arpon Basu of The Athletic. David Savard had some comments. He talked to Kent Hughes. Quote, "We've had conversations and he's talked to my agents. I'm happy here and I think that they want me here. So for now, hopefully it stays that way." Very, very interesting. Of course, he has 1 year left after this one, at $3.5 million. And we've heard a lot of talk, Jesse, about how the Habs want to keep him around for various reasons. We maybe didn't get a specific insight, but this gave us some insight. When Xhekaj was moved on to a pairing with Savard, he said, "You can put anyone with that guy. He'll be good. He's a really smart player. He's talking to me all game. He's like a coach. He's experienced. Great guy. Great player." Basu says all the Canadiens' young defensemen basically worship the ground Savard walks on. He is a highly respected member of the team, an example to follow, and someone who can set the temperature for the group. All of that is important. And all that to me, Jesse, says David Savard is not going anywhere, at least not this season, before he's an expiring contract next year.
No, but all the same, Kent has talked, to his agents. He's cooking, but we're knowing that if we're not getting that amazing sort of deal back, we recognize its value. Like, there is going to be a day where David Savard is traded from the Montreal Canadiens, but it's not quite yet. And I've been trying to find the right word to kind of describe him, but he's kind of like that bulldog type player, right? And it's like, until you have like a Xhekaj or a Struble, who are those type of players as well, until you can have them that can step up in your top four and be playing a lot of minutes on the ice when it matters, really be protecting your players, your goalie and everything else. Until they're ready to do that, you need to keep David Savard on your team, because nobody else kind of offers that. And we're close. We see, Struble, they have played some top four minutes, with Xhekaj, but on a consistent basis of where we really want to be, are they there yet? Probably not. You could argue maybe the same for David Savard, that on many teams he'd be on a lower pairing as well. The point is still the same, right? That he plays such a valuable role for this team, right? Where it's not that he's completely untouchable, but we know what he offers, right? So unless we're going to be completely kind of blown away, there is some value, just to let the guy season a little bit more. Probably more of a move that Ken is looking to make next year.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes more sense, Savard, if he can stay healthy and stay at a similar level of production next year, his expiring contract around the trade deadline is going to be much more valuable than his contract is right now, because you can use a retention slot. You can, team will be able to get him for under $2 million. Makes a lot of sense. But you got to think it's also tough on him as well. Like, he spoke out saying, like, look, I haven't really heard a lot of the trade rumors. I'm not really on social media, but you got to know the players are looking around. Of course, Hughes saying, hey, you might be moved. What do you think about this? You got to think that's tough on a guy. But the thing with Savard is clearly he's just pushing through it. And, those qualities are extremely valuable. And like you said, mentoring these young guys is almost priceless. Like, finding veterans like him, I feel like we say it can be a dime a dozen. They're not. And at this point, Jesse, if Hughes was to move him at the deadline, because as Basu closes the article and as something we've said when we've talked about David Savard, if the right package is there, you got to pull the trigger. Like, what is it for you? It doesn't need to be something exact. Like, for me, for example, I think some solid draft compensation. Like, I think we're talking second round pick and maybe something else a little bit for David Savard, I think, is the starting point. I don't know what your thoughts are. Maybe a little more than that, maybe a little less than that, because I feel like his value goes beyond just his ability on the ice.
Yeah, we might be surprised at the return that we would get. If it turns out there's some type of bidding war where Chris Tanev gets taken and now they're looking for the next best guy to be good in the playoffs, right-hand defenseman. David Savard looks really good, and that he's great in the playoffs. Just a couple years ago, we can see that, right? Mm-hmm. We already know from the type of player that he is, blocking shots, type of guy that you win with. Obviously, no surprise that he is already a Stanley Cup champion. So that is very important for many teams for many reasons, right? Obviously, I think it's almost a first round, kind of like Sean Monahan, even though it seems crazy to say, or bust for Kent Hughes. We know he's a tough negotiator, but I would say that kind of as that sort of benchmark. We know what we're kind of gearing towards. I'm wondering if we can kind of package something to kind of move the needle a little bit more offensively. Of course, that would be so interesting to see, right? But I mean, there's so many teams right now that feel like they have a chance of winning the Stanley Cup. That's why I could really see his trade value just going up a lot over the next couple weeks here.
Kent Hughes is no stranger to taking advantage of a dwindling market at a certain position. He did it with Monahan. Why not do it with Savard? I'm sure the phones are going to be ringing, especially once Chris Tanev is off the market. People are going to come looking for Savard. Will the price be what Kent Hughes wants? We're not sure, but what do you guys think? Do you think Savard will be moved before the deadline? All indications seem to be that he has no intentions of going anywhere, but we'd love to hear what you guys have to say. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We're less than 100 subscribers away from 11,000, so if somehow you haven't hit that button and you're still watching at this point, please hit the button. We'd really, really appreciate it. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, we got this now goes out on Spotify under Habs Digest, so go check that out as well. Give us a 5-star rating. Just figured I'd plug it at the end of the video. Thank you for watching till the end. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.